Hey folks, thanks for tuning in for today's episode. If you're a science fiction fan, you might be less enthusiastic about modern sci-fi. Studios and streaming services gleefully sabotage fan favorite franchises. In this video, we're going to look at 5 watch-worthy sci-fi series, old and newish. So buckle up as we go above and beyond with the top 5 forgotten sci-fi series you need to see. Number 5, Quark. Quark was a 1970s spoof on popular sci-fi fiction movies and TV shows like Star Trek, Star Wars, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Buck Rogers. Instead of blowing up Death Stars, this crew collects space trash for United Galaxy sanitation. Adam Quark commands such a garbage scow. Along with his crew of nuttedy oddballs, Quark takes on the banal task with tireless optimism. That changes thanks to the Head, a disembodied huge craniumed head that wields enough authority to throw Quark and company into certain peril, like sending him on a suicide mission to destroy the Gorgons, the United Galaxy's arch enemy. In response, Quark is bequeathed the Source.
You are the first man in 200 years to be given the Source.
A secret weapon, but the catch is that Quark must wholeheartedly believe in its power, kind of like Luke Skywalker's journey to master the Force. Even the clear musical refrain from the Star Wars theme is proof of their spoofing. Hell, the title of episode 2 is May the Source Be With You. Quark's crew consists of a cast of wild characters, and the birth of pronouns might just have happened in outer space. Gene is the ship's engineer and a transmute, a being who possesses male and female genes influencing Gene's macho and emotional outbursts. Betty are 2 identical sexpots and ship's pilot. They bicker about which one is the clone and the real McCoy. Betty also has the hots for Quark, but Quark can't decide which one he's attracted to. Ficus Pandorata is a Spock-esque science officer and also a plant in human form. Otto von Palindrome is a mid-level bureaucrat who doles out assignments to Quark and revels in making Quark's life a living hell. Quark is a madcap space sitcom that plumbs for cheap laughs.
A totally varied wave cycle. Do you understand what that means?
What does it mean?
I wish I knew.
But where Quark shines is the imaginative premise that thrusts the crew into familiar sci-fi territories, with their tongues firmly pressed into their characters' cheeks. That is, if they have cheeks. Also, Quark, portrayed by Richard Benjamin, is immensely fun to watch. His qualities are just, loyal, and unlucky to the core, like a haphazard Jeff Goldblum. To wit, he shares some physical similarities. Number 4, Almost Human. In this futuristic cop buddy show, Detective John Kennick's, Carl Urban, is paired with Dorian, a lifelike older model android after Kennick's ejected his previous android partner from the squad car because the MX-43 android was going to snitch on Kennick's for his abnormal behavior. And can you blame Kennick's? Kennick's holds a massive grudge for synthetics because 2 years prior, a raid on a violent gang known as the In-Syndicate ambushed Kennick's squad. The MX-43 followed its logic-based judgment call, ignored the injured officers and fled the scene. Kennick's lost a leg from the explosion that killed the rest of the officers. And as all cop buddy shows go, the pull and tug of differences helps to support the subplot. Dorian overstepping Kennick's boundaries raises many comedic moments because Dorian is, well, almost human.
I ran a bioscan and it looked like your testicles were at full capacity. You're backed up.
Don't scan my testicles. Ever again.
Copy that.
And Kennick's has zero patience, considering he is suffering from PTSD, memory lapses, and the hardship brought by his prolonged coma, where his girlfriend Anna bolted on him. Kennick seeks help to dredge up lost memories, consults with technicians on the black market, known as recollectionists. In the year 2048, crime has exploded by a factor of 400%, as a direct result of unfettered science and technology, giving criminal elements like the In-Syndicate the upper hand and overwhelming police departments. This is the reason for enlisting androids into the service. Each episode is a cool blend of police drama, action, comedy, and the usual feel-good conclusions. What didn't feel good was the series only lasted for 1 season. Low ratings had well done it in before Almost Human could find its stride. Number 3, Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future. The undoing of this show was the show itself, but this doesn't undermine its value. Daringly, Captain Power was marketed to children and adult audiences. Action and adventure ruled supreme in these fast-paced episodes, but you have to sit through an exceptionally long intro sequence. In the year 2132, biomechs replace humans in the military. This is a recipe for disaster, as it always is. The biomechs wage a 15-year war against humanity, but bands of survivors fight back. One is Captain Power and the soldiers of the future. Armed with their power suits, weapons, and guile, the soldiers campaign guerrilla warfare against Lord Dread and his forces. And like I said before, there's no shortage of action, gun battles, and late 1980s computer graphics, which makes it a bit off-putting watching, but then again, come on, if this was the 1980s. The post-apocalyptic theme of the show raised eyebrows and criticism, as many groups thought that it was too violent and depressing for younger viewers. And adults could get into the action and violence, but the less mature subject matter worked against penetrating that demographic. And also, unenviable scheduling didn't help to push the show to a wider audience. Captain Power looks similar to many Canadian science fiction series of the time, most of which were set in devastated cities, so that's a no-brainer. And to me, these sets look like the lower-budget futuristic scenes of urban warfare from the first Terminator. However, it was one of the first Canadian sci-fi programs that incorporated a lot of CGI. The flying Egyptian-headed biomech is a definite standout. And unlike in the Terminator, humans are digitized rather than terminated. And I guess that kinda is the same thing. You've been digitized. Yeah, I think that could work. The power suits serve well, albeit looking kinda chintzy. But I like Lord Dread's OG board look. Resistance is dope, and guess what else is dope? Mattel released a line of action figures and an interactive game. But isn't this how we landed in this biomech dilemma in the first place? Number 2, Lexx. Lexx was an unexpectedly bizarre, campy, dark, and sexy series that aired in the time of serious science fiction. Unlike Star Trek: The Next Generation, Lexx was the antithesis. We're not diplomatic. We will blow up a planet if we have to, as the series writer Lex Gigeroff explained to me when I personally worked on this show. Somewhere in the story's immense and nebulous timeline, the journey into the Dark Zone begins with Kai and the remaining Brunnen-G, who are embroiled in the last-ditch desperate assault on his Shadow's flagship. Kai is murdered at the hands of his Shadow and indentured as a living dead assassin for his regime, the Divine Order. Stanley H. Tweedle is a low-level courier and cowardly goofball with sleazy tendencies. The Order relegated him to the post of a level 4 security guard, but because of his slack nature, he lands himself in hot water and escapes the cluster, the Divine Order's home world. The show worked in a droid noggin by the name of 790, who is reprogrammed as a love slave and immediately falls head over head for Zev and Jet, the gorgeous Zev, but later replaced by the equally stunning Zev. Both, although one of the same, are nymphomaniacs and cannot achieve satisfaction. Both Zev and Zev are infatuated with Kai, but he's dead and cannot reciprocate. Stanley? Well, he doesn't get any because, well, just look at him. All four make their way to the Lexx, a giant mechanistic insect hybrid and the most powerful weapon in the two universes. Kai slays his Shadow and they escape into the Dark Zone via a portal. Lexx was a deeply unconventional sci-fi series that landed on many tones, but the influences behind Lexx include The Dirty Dozen, Alien, and Beavis and Butthead, but ultimately a definite nod to Space Precinct. The aesthetic of the show is unbalanced, relying heavily on physical set pieces that look very indie in tandem with late 1990s computer graphics that look okay at times, and others it's on par with Neil Breen level effects. But that's sort of the charm behind this really weird Canadian-German co-production. Hence the European soft touch added a little steaminess. Through the course of its 4 seasons, there are many notable guest appearances by Gary Bostwick, Tim Curry, Rutger Hauer, Malcolm McDowell, Stephen McHattie, and Ross O'Hennessy. Number 1. Space, Above and Beyond. In the year 2063, humanity manages to piss off an alien race called the Chigs after their sacred moon was colonized by humans. The Chigs razz the colony, killing and taking colonists as prisoners, including Kylene Selena, Nathan West's main squeeze. Earth declares war. Nathan enlists in the hope of finding Kylene. All participating national forces operate under the banner of a newly reformed United Nations. And that can't be good. In boot camp, Nathan is matched with his crewmate, mates. Captain Vanson, Wang, and Damphus. Hawks and Colonel McQueen are a pair of artificially gestated humans, bred for the military to fight in the AI wars, which should be happening in about 5 years from now. In vitros, otherwise known as tanks or nipple necks, are considered second-class humans. James Wong and Glenn Morgan of X-Files fame created a charismatic sci-fi war story with distinct X-Files nuances. David Duchovny makes a cameo in an episode as one of those damn silicates. The series was intended for 5 seasons, but ran only for 1 due to poor ratings. Nonetheless, this was a great series. It's a damn pity that it appears the budget couldn't strap up all of its bootlaces when it comes to sets and picture vehicles, but she well made up for it with the dogfights. The Hammerhead is a badass-looking fighter with impressive maneuverability, which makes the skirmishes with the Chigs that much more exciting. The Angriest Angel episode is a shining example of this. And there you have it. Do you remember any of these shows? What's your take on these picks? And are they worthy of watching again? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and please take a second to hit the like and subscribe buttons to show your channel some love. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.